Obviously, viewers are split between 5, 6 different locations. So I'm not going to trust the little number up in the top left. We're just doing this as inefficiently as possible.
Love it.
Yep. But hi everyone. My name is Nora Jean Haynes. I'm the lead designer and project manager at Double Summon Games. And for Pocketopia, one of the things that we have set up and are hosting is a series of showcase streams. Pocketopia, if you're not already aware, is a exciting little collaboration that BackerKit, the crowdfunding platform, is doing for a bunch of tabletop games, TTRPGs, and importantly, right now, card and board games that you can just pick up and play. A lot of stuff you can keep around your pocket. Today, we're going to be showcasing a lot of those. Not everyone is here yet, but let's give a quick introduction. Jason, who are you?
Hey, everyone. Jason with Phase Shift Games. Happy to be here. Very excited.
Yeah. Rick, hi. Brilliant. And Eric, finally for now.
Hello, I am the founder of Tavern Crawl Games. We made another game called Party Wanted last year. It's like a kind of a D&D without a DM, boozy, roguelike deck builder. And today I'll be showing off DuelGeon, which is our stripped down kind of PvEvP dungeon crawler. So you loot a bunch of stuff, you kill your friends, or you harm them in other ways, and you have 3 different levels of extraction. So you'll be able to bring back gear if you choose to, while risking it.
We can get to that when we get to your bit. We should get for everyone else's bit for now.
There we go.
A little excited, but that's good. I will actually we'll be starting with Jason. I'll be jumping off of taking the front end in just a second. Any of you guys need anything, feel free to message me in the private chat. Jason, do you have your... Oh, Matt's here, actually. Let's introduce him as well.
Hey.
Hi, Matt.
Oh, hi. Hello.
Hi. Matt, since they still seem to be getting ready, is the person working on... what was the exact name of your game again?
I don't know.
Shifted. Yes. You seem a little bit out of it. We'll give you a second. Jason, have you got your game ready?
I sure do.
Brilliant.
Shall I take it away?
Please do.
Awesome. All right. So, yeah, I'm excited to be going first. So no one has set a precedent before me. And but I am excited to look at all of the healthy competition that's part of this campaign. Really, really stoked. So I'm going to be talking to you about Widget's Workshop. That's the box right there. This is the latest in our line of drop style games. So I just want to quickly introduce, and then I'm going to dive in and show you a little bit. First of all, it's a 2 to 5 player game. As you can see, very small box, portable. It is by Alex Cutler. Alex Cutler is the designer of Critter Kitchen that I think started about a year ago. I think backers are just starting to get their pledges now. That one rose over $1 million. And then more recently, he is also the designer of A Place for All My Books, a board game about collecting and organizing your book collection, which is a really cool concept. Also rose over $1 million. So clearly that means Widget's Workshop's going to raise $1 million. Backer kit.
Let's go.
Pocketopia, and we're going to set the bar for everyone. $1 million. Okay, let me share my screen and we'll show you what's going on. All right, so Widget's Workshop is really 3 things. It is a drop style game. I'm going to explain what that means. That's kind of our phrase for this line that we have. It is spatial set collection. Many of you certainly have heard the phrase set collection before, but what is spatial set collection? We'll talk about that. And it is card crafting. Card crafting we certainly did not invent, but there aren't a lot of those games out there. So we're happy to kind of ride that new wave of card crafting here as well. All right, so what I'm basically doing is using a preview of my campaign page to just explain these 3 different areas. So first of all, drop style. Here's my how to play section. So we'll use these animated GIFs. So drop style is basically our way of saying that the board game involves in a core way the mechanism of dropping components on the table. Now we have 3 games in this line at this point. The first was Dungeon Drop. It was all about dropping cubes, and then you have a spatial puzzle with the cubes. Then we had Drop Drive, which is a space science fiction themed game, and you're dropping components that represent planets and pirates and space junk and asteroids and all these cool things. Here in Widget's workshop, we're dropping cards that represent parts in the workshop, and we're going to be pulling from this pile of parts in the center of the table to create these really cool robots and golems. That's what Widget's workshop is all about. So the notion of dropping stuff and it creates this spatial puzzle, that's central to these drop style games. Not only for setup that it's easy to just drop stuff on the table and get going, but also dropping is a continual mechanism in the game that's reused in different ways in all 3 games. So as you can see, what's happening in this GIF is we've taken this giant pile of 80 part cards that we have, and you can shuffle them up ahead of time, but you kind of almost don't need to, because literally you're going to be sprinkling it, dropping it down on the table to create this mound, this pile of part cards. And as you can see, they're semi-transparent, and that will come into play with the card crafting in just a moment. All right, so now that we've dropped these cards, what's happening? So this, on your turn, what you're really doing is drafting from that pile of cards. And the way that you draft is use one finger only. And you're going to see some of the cards are partially hidden. Some you can see, some are face down and you can't see anything other than that it's a card that's face down. And you're kind of deducing and trying to figure out what are the types of robots that I'm trying to build. They all have different attributes, different icons that you can see on the outskirts of those gears there. I might be trying to build a fire robot that is mechanical in nature and has the strength attribute. So I'm looking around the table trying to figure out where are those types of parts. Well, I can see some information on cards that are on top. I can maybe see more, but maybe those aren't the parts I need. So you're kind of deducing and trying to deduct which are the ones. A little bit of push your luck here too, because I can choose to either draft one card that I can see, and I just have to yank it by one of its little gear edges there, kind of wiggle it out of the pile, and hopefully it's what I was looking for. Or I can draft 2 face down cards anywhere, and I flip them both, reveal them, figure out which one is the best one for me, keep that, and toss the other back onto the pile. So that's the drafting. You're basically just yanking a card out from this pile. And as you do that, other cards are going to get shifted around and bumped and whatever, and that's all part of the game, because the pile is going to be constantly changing throughout the game. So that's the drafting part. As you can see in this mat that's in front of you, you are trying to collect, first of all, there's 5 different pieces of each robot or golem: left arm, left leg, right leg, torso. And you are trying to collect ones that have matching elements. That could be the element of fire, earth, air, water, mechanical versus organic, and strength versus speed based. You want to match as many of those as possible. It's very rare to get a perfect match, though. A perfect match would be a 30-point robot. That's the highest scoring robot that you can make. But you do want to get as many icons that match, because you're going to get that score up as close to 30 as possible. And what do you do now that they're in your bay? This is the card crafting portion of it. You basically, once you have all 5 of those pieces, you pull them, you consolidate them into one stack, and you can see visually your created golem or robot. It even has a unique name along the top there, because every card presents a certain letter combination, and we're constructing the letters to create the name of your various constructs. Here's one that I made. He's sitting next to my desk here. This is my little friend who's been accompanying me. That's Ruptuck. And he's like part water, part earth based. And anyway, you can create over 1 million combinations of these different constructs. And that is the game. You're basically going to go until you have some number of completed constructs, depending on the number of players in the game, anywhere from 3 to 5 in front of you, and score at the end based on how optimized your different constructs were. Really fast, easy game, really charming kind of look with the cool robots and golem artwork, and that unique drop mechanic that we are very fond of.
We do have one question from our local Discord chat. How big are the gears and board?
2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. There's one of the cards, prototype cards. So it's
And because they got the
two-map
hole, they
vintage.
don't have a hole in them. You with the one grabbing them with one finger seems a lot more difficult than it looked on the previews.
No, it's really not. So I mean, it's gonna be all in this pile, but you're just gonna use one finger to kind of yank it out from one of the gears or spokes that you can see. Doesn't matter how much of it is visible. You can just kind of yank it out. And if you can't, if it's fully covered, you can't take that card. So you're just going to be taking one of the ones that you can see that hopefully has as much matching stuff as possible. You do have 3 different bays in front of you, so you can maybe you get something that's not good for the one you were working on, but you're going to work on another one as well simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Sounds interesting. Rick, you're next with Cult Crafter. Are you ready? Oh, let's hope as much. We've got nothing on our end. I think you explained it pretty well. And I guess one question that'll probably help to lead into who's streaming next is, for Pocketopia, everyone's got a collab partner. It's a cool little thing where you're getting special little bonuses if you back both projects. Who, might I ask, is the collab partner? Oh, that's extremely shocking. Matt, are you ready to present?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit. I can boost your mic on the.
So yeah, you're a
screen
little
it looks
quiet.
like. Yeah, let me just boost it for you on
Boost my
our
mic?
end.
Oh,
Is
there
that
you
better?
go. No, yep.
I have like a audio interface. All right.
There we go.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna do this a little different because I didn't learn tabletop. So let's present. Okay, we're showing this on Figma. Ugh. All right, so my game is Shifted. It is a social deduction game, and fits in a pocket, so it's in like a style as like a Button Shy does, where they're in little wallets. I've got all that. So the game is 25 cards, but there's more or less depending on if you back kind of like some mini expansions or you get the cool promo card that we did. But essentially, the theme is you're on a spaceship with your fellow goopers, which are these spaceship people, and they just they're searching for goop, which is this substance that runs everything on the planet that they're from. But due to capitalism, they've used up all the goop, and now they just send out people to go find more goop. Pretty much the idea is that like most people just die in space and it's not really ever found, but they don't care. But anyway, in here, so you're basically trying to just do tasks around the ship, like for this, like fixing a glitch, or I have different things. I haven't had the art on there, but it'd be like, oh, you're just like mopping the floor or something. So that's your main task. The way you do that is you have these mission cards. So I'll kind of get into how you play the game a little bit, just the basic start. So when you start your turn, the way this game works is if you're the active player, you have 2 cards along with the 2 people who are directly adjacent to you. So let's say I'm Gooper Skull. Someone next to me, like Jason, is this Gooper, and then someone like Rick is this Gooper, I. So I have a 5 and a 4, and I'm going to do this mission to try to get 2 pairs. But you can see I only have 2 cards. You can only have a max of 2 cards, so you can never do it by yourself, partly because the Goopers are lazy, and that's thematically what's going on. The other thing, but you can ask for 1 card from each person and the people adjacent to you, also because they're lazy and they're not going to give their full effort. So if I want to do this mission that's 2 pair, I would need a card from this person, Jason, and a card from Rick. So I can kind of discuss like, hey, I'm trying to get this 2 pair. You can give as little or as much information as you want of like what you have, and they can as well. So if let's say, for instance, I'm like, I'm gonna do this 2 pair. I have a 5 and a 4. What do y'all have? Well, I have a 5, and this, he says he has a 4. Okay, that's cool. So if they're gonna help me, I say, okay, could I have your 4 and could I have your 5? So Jason decides he's going to give me the 5, and Rick decides he is going to give me the 4. So before I look at them, I have to shuffle them all up and then present them, flip them over, so I don't know like what came from where. And I do that, and if I do that, then I complete the mission. And that is how so if you complete the mission, you get this mission card, and that is how you get a point as a Gooper. So as any social deduction game, you have more than just being a gooper. Like gooper is, if you've played werewolf, you're kind of just like a villager. You don't really do, you're just the basic status quo. Well, let's keep it like they're both goopers, and let's just say that Rick, for instance, doesn't trust me. He thinks that I'm something else, which I haven't introduced yet, but I could be something else in the game. Let's say a void, which is basically he's a gooper, but he's pretty much nihilistic, and he's an anarchist, so he just tries to ruin missions. So his goal, instead of completing mission, is trying to fail missions. And even though I'm a gooper, Rick doesn't think that I'm who I say I am. So Rick says, hey, I'm not going to give you the 4. So if I have 2 cards and I can only get 1 from Jason, then I'm going to have to pull from the deck. So when you do that, it obviously can be anything. Because this is face down and you're just pulling from the top of the card. So you risk, so you could either try convincing them like, hey, I am one of you, or sometimes you just have to pull from the deck because maybe you don't even trust the person. Like, I don't trust that you're who you say you are, so you're going to give me the wrong card. So you pull from the deck. I pulled a 2, I got the 5. Well, I failed. I did not complete this. And that is how a void gets points. And void, he's on his own team, but then there is another team, and that is the Shift. So the Shift is kind of the most interesting player, I think. The Shift is a shape-shifting alien, so this isn't really like what it looks like. It just kind of like the things it kills, it can morph into that. But for this game, the Shift is trying to shift other players. So within thematically in the game, the Shift doesn't look like this. It looks like any other gooper. So it's kind of like blending in. So let's kind of switch things up and add a Shift here. And let's kind of change these cards out. So this is what the Shift has. And the way you shift is, if you notice, some of these cards have what I call touched cards. And that's these. You can see it by the little star. And on the cards, there's like a bigger star on there as well. So the way the shift mechanic works is if you play one in your hand, let's say I have this as my hand. If one card is a touched card, it is safe. So nothing extraordinary happens. If 2 cards are that, then you shift. And that means you have become one with the shift and you are effectively annihilated from the game. In my game, you are a ghost, so you could still discuss and stuff. You're not like werewolf. Now you got to kick back and you can't talk or anything. But you no longer will play hands. So maybe you still have information as a ghost, but you're effectively no longer playing hands. But if you are in a goop, you could still win. But anyway, so that's 2. If you have 3 of these, so this is where like there's a little bit of push and play. If you have 3 of these, then that is also safe because you're getting a little too cocky. So there's a little bit of a fine line of like, oh, like, does someone have 2 or 3? And then if you have 4, then the mission is aborted. So that just means that nothing happens. It's just a null. So these shift cards or touch cards are really what kind of plays the element of like being sneaky. Like, how much do you want to play? How much do you trust each other? Sometimes, because you're giving so much information, you might like not even mention you have a shift card or like how many of that, and then like someone shifts on accident. That's very likely to happen, and then paranoia happens. So that is how that works. So you're doing that. The way I have it is that 3 missions, depending on the player count, which is 4 to 5 right now, 3 wins, 3 completed missions will merit a goop win. I think 2 fails, I forget what it is exactly, is what a void wins. And then 3, depending on how many players it is, having more people shifted on the team is how the shift player wins. And so you kind of do that. You go around, like I said, you play and you figure out. So there's a little bit of like a basic, like you probably know how to play poker. If not, you'll have the hands on the player aid. So you have like, it's very like simple to get in, and as understanding like how to play cards, you can only get, 2 from people next to you, and you also have that engagement of there's always going to be 3 people kind of playing a hand and discussing. And then there's also the kind of thing that throws a little wrench in some of these plans is there's special cards as well. So we have a 1, which acts as both a shift card and a touch card and a not touch card. So if you have this, you can play it as either. Right now there's no art on it, but there will be something that represents that it is both, and it can be used for both. So depending on how many are in there or what role you are, maybe why you use this a different way. There's a shifted card, which this one you just immediately shift. Well, that sucks, right? But the aborted card trumps a shift. So if you have a shift card, but you also have an aborted card, that would actually stop you from shifting. But generally speaking, if you shift either this way or this way, you will be shifted unless you abort, which trumps shift. And all of this is on the player aid, so you'll have that available to you. And then a joker is just like a standard joker. Again, this doesn't have art yet because I'm still working on it, but this can be any suit or any number. And in the game, there's 2 suits. There's the Delta suit, and then there's the Spiral suit. Anyway, I can open up some questions. I know I probably missed a lot of stuff, but that's a general overview of the game.
Fantastic. The only question we got on our end is, so you've only got 2 suits. Is it otherwise the same as a standard playing card deck? Could you use another playing card deck to fill this in if you went suit to suit?
So the way the statistics work on this, so having 2 through 5, you could use. The only thing is you'd probably have to mark them to mark what shift cards or whatever. But it's 2 through 6. I mean, of each suit. And then one of the suits has 2 shift cards or touch cards, and one of them has 3. Which makes you think I should just call these shift cards because I keep saying that. I just don't want to say that too much. I'm working on names. But yeah, you'd really have to use this. But I mean, who would want to miss out on the wonderful art on my poker cards?
Did you say the total was 18 cards? Is this an 18-card game?
This is a 25-card game, so kind of packing the the wallet. But actually, other people who have doing, I think the Western Legends has one, and there's 27 cards, and I think that's about the max you can fit in a wallet.
So it's being packaged in one of those wallet packages?
Yeah, exactly what it is.
Brilliant.
So you can take it to a bar, and I have play tested at a bar many times, and I've play tested with people who've had a couple of drinks. They're still able to do it. So if that's your thing, no worries.
Brilliant. Then I suppose the next thing is just Eric, are you ready?
Certainly.
Brilliant.
All right. So, hi everybody. I'm Eric. I'm the creator of Tavern Crawl Games, founder here. We are going to be discussing DuelGeon here. A nice little, mostly pocket size. We might be a little bigger than this with some space for minis. We're not sure yet, but the basic premise is a extraction style board game. So let me pull this up for you here. All right. Should have that. So you're going to select one of our 4 adventures here, right? You have your cards, you have a health counter, and then you have your starter land. You're going to put that in one of the starting areas, just depending on the play field. The board is set up based on the boss configuration that you'll see for the level. So this is level 1. You're going to see the level 1 setup, right?
Eric, I don't know if everyone...
I don't see it.
Yeah, we can't see it yet on the stream.
It says it's sharing.
Now it is.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Took a second.
Sorry, that was on my end. I forgot to move the thing over.
No worries. All right. So as I was saying, what you're going to do, you're going to select one of the 4 adventures, right? So we got a wizard, a rogue, a sorc, and a fighter. They each have unique abilities that can be used once per level. There's 3 levels that take place in the game. You're going to start by putting your character in your starting zone, right? You have the land that'll go in a specific area like that. You'll put it in. You'll move. If you get the minis, you'll move a mini. If not, we have these little player cubes that you'll start with. You make sure you're at 10 health. Just like we did in our previous game, this is kind of a spin down health counter. So you can use a cube to track it. Or let's say I were to take 2 points of damage here. I would just spin that to an 8. right? Match my current health with whatever the health that I have going on is. Since we start at 10, we'll leave it on the 10. You're going to have 2 d4s, every player will. At the very beginning of the game, you're going to roll these, right? The highest combination, so that's a 5, everyone would roll. Whoever gets the highest number is going to go first. You then move adjacently into any of these lands. You will reveal it, move your character onto it. So we have things like this that are basic ruins where I'm going to have a choice. I can draw one of the commons over here. The way our loot works is almost every card has a base standard ability and then a secondary ability, as well as a point value that'll be counted at the end of the game towards whoever has the most points will be the winner in this scenario. Once I have chosen what I want to do, like either that draw or I can risk and roll the dice for some extras, right? Like I can try to get better loot, but there's a chance that I'll lose health. So it's kind of a risk reward, push your luck sort of deal. Once that is resolved, you go clockwise around the table. So adjacent players are going to be able to move. Let's say everyone takes their turn. I go next. Now I'm fighting a monster. So combat is pretty basic at this point. What you're going to do is you're going to roll these 2 dice, right? The highest number is always going to be yours, and the lowest number is going to be whatever you're fighting. So I would get that 4, and this means this creature here is going to have a 2. I am doing 4 damage to its 2 health. So I would have these loots that I could use if I needed to, right? Let's say I rolled low and I needed to bring the attack up. Or let's say I want to negate some of his damage. I could take this 2, negate that to a 1. You can't go higher than a 4 or lower than a 1. So you're always going to do a minimum of 1 and a max of 4, right? Now, if another player was adjacent to me, say our rogue was over here, as soon as you become adjacent to another player, he can use the cards in his hand to affect my rolls as well. So that 4 that I had, he can change that to a 1 if he has the cards and the capabilities to do that, making me unable to kill the creature, unable to get the loot, unable to get the points. And then we also have mini bosses and bosses. So if I were to move onto a boss base here, I have the option to roll a d4. If I can hit that d4, we get like 2 of the best loots in the game. Any other number on that, I will take that amount of damage. But unlike our combat rolls, the boss rolls are just straight stealing, so no other player can interfere with it. But the second you're not there, they can still come and attack you directly. You have the choice if you want to attack a player that's on a space. Like if we're both here, I'm not forced into combat. I can choose instead to try to loot the room, basically. But I have the option of killing that player. If a player does die, they will drop all of the loot that they currently have in their hands directly on whatever space that occurred on. And then whoever's there is going to have the option to take all of that loot from them. There are a couple catch-up mechanics if you die or if something happens where you can either roll for excess loot. We have like a revenge kill system. So if you kill the person that killed you in a later round, you're going to get to draw 2 rares. We also have a health potion that I didn't put out on the table. So you'll have the option of using this health potion, which is like a 2 heals. But none of the items or things can be used until after you've rolled your dice in combat, right? So like there's no way for you to use those outside of combat unless you are adjacent to the other players. The main hook for this is you're going to leave after 4 rounds. These ruins will collapse, and then everyone's going to extract to their vaults with all the loot that they have gathered. The players then have the choice of storing it for safety and getting that point value automatically, or they can bring the loot back in. It'll get flipped face down again, so it becomes able to be used again, but they risk losing it as well. Since you can only carry a total of 5, anything you have over that is going to get dropped off as you make your way through. So it's like, you know, a bit, once again, of that risk reward. If you get a really good loot early on, you can push your luck and try to bring in for all 3 levels. But if any point you were to die, you would lose all of its value and all the points that it has. This is designed to be kind of a little bit of like an intro to that extraction mechanic in terms of board games, because I really love that element in a lot of video games, and I just haven't seen it like ever in any of the other board games. So we've also done quite a bit of bar playtesting. It's really well. The second that someone messes with someone else, like some of those ruins are like you have to teleport to someone and attack them. So you don't have a choice. You're going to have that player interaction. And by design, you usually will lose 1 or 2 health as you work your way towards the boss. So you get around that 5 or 6 health mark where you become targetable on 1 missed boss roll from someone else trying to kill you. And then once again, other players can help them do the murdering. So it's like, yeah, kind of like almost politic-y, like Commander, kitchen table magic sort of deal. But in another package. You can, oh, look how much loot they got. We got to focus on him. Don't ignore that stuff. And just like Rick with the cards, we also have a tier for all of our monsters where you can send us in an art reference and we will throw that up as the monster. And then, like you can send us your grandma or your cat and be like, boom, there you go. We got this stuff.
Oh, that's brilliant. We do have one more presentation. Let me just add them in. Hi, Christopher. I know your team has been having some technical issues.
I think we got them mostly settled out.
Brilliant. Let me just make sure your mic settings are proper because you're a little bit quiet.
How's this?
Go. Brilliant. Absolutely great. Do you have the stream ready for your project, Troublemakers?
Trouble Seekers. I think we have everything ready. Just have to get Alina in here, and I think we're good to go.
Brilliant. Oh, you want me to add her to the stage here as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm doing this solo.
Hi.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hi.
Let's see here. Screen
Yeah.
sharing. I know I have plenty of monitors. Don't show tip. Share screen. So I'm going to let you control the cards here. Just let me get.
All right. So, Trouble Seekers was an interesting little experiment. We were supposed to do an RPG that used poker rules or blackjack rules. So, I actually had written out the RPG. I was getting ready to present it, then found out we were supposed to be restricted to one page. I don't do one-page RPGs usually. So I apparently I went a little bit too far, and I decided, well, heck with it. I'd run with it and just take it to its natural conclusion. Oh, good. You're ready. So to open up, we are from Fool's Moon Entertainment Incorporated. We do role-playing games and publishing, trying to bring voice to minorities who are normally overlooked in the gaming sphere. LGBT, people of color, women, trying to get them to actually get their worlds out there for other people to explore. We have a few in the pipe towards this, and Trouble Seekers is along that vein as well. With this game, you're playing the bespoke Trouble Speakers. You have been chosen by Lady Fortuna herself to track down the Oligarchs. These are people who have stolen fortune from other people, which is actually like kind of almost like a manifestation of luck. And when they steal it, it allows them to become more famous, more influential, more powerful. Things just go their way. And these people are basically acting as parasites on society. Whenever they steal from somebody, that person has fortune go against them. They wind up becoming destitute, depressed. Like the world basically operates against them. And you have been tasked with balancing the scales. You hunt down oligarchs. They have minions called exarchs, where they give a portion of their power to act as bodyguards, chauffeurs, hitmen, whatever. And once you've taken the fortune back, you can give it to the people who need it the most. It's very much a kind of a rise up against those who would abuse the system kind of setting. To do this, Dame Fortuna gives each Trouble Seeker a deck of cards. These cards are kind of enchanted, and as you progress, you can learn different tricks like them. You can throw them as weapons. You can have them fly around you as shields. They can protect you against emotional manipulation or physical harm, and you can use them to communicate with each other. There's a whole bunch of different kind of tricks and abilities that you can pull off of these. And most of the gameplay is expected to be done as a heist, because I mean, in society, if somebody goes running into a guy's estate with intent to harm, all blatant and everything like that, the law is going to work against them, and society is going to work against them, and things like that. So you kind of have to set up how you're going to try to expose the oligarch, get him isolated, then deal with him. And dealing with him is called a duel of fate, where you're pitting your fortune against their fortune, and that clash starts kind of bending the world around you. Reality kind of starts to warp, impossible things start to happen, and it just kind of expands into what's called a maelstrom until one or the other falls. Any questions?
I can come in. The main thing that comes to mind is this reminds me a lot of the I don't remember what it was. I think it was a Monty Cook game. Of a very similar premise, something where words to the devil or something like that. What would you say your inspirations are here? It seems that I was under the impression that this is more of a card and board game. This is more of a TTRPG.
This is an RPG that uses a deck of cards instead of dice. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I will note to anyone else in the stream, if you want to see more TTRPGs, you can check out our previous stream where we covered a few of them. I'll go into more detail once we're all done. But yeah, that very interesting premise. Is there anything? What makes your game more unique? I should say that stands out aside from just the premise alone and the card game mechanic.
Well, it's basically it's urban fantasy. The mystery, of course, is who Dame Fortuna is. What is her true nature? Why is she choosing these people, like from different walks of life? Usually among the the people who are already kind of being kicked while they're down. And then it's like, well, if you have the means to do something, how would you fight back? What kind of methods would you use? With the powers that at your disposal, and it's very much, as I said, it's kind of like a heist game as opposed to the typical hack and slash or go in guns blazing, because your goal is not to actually kill anybody. Your goal is to strip them and then let fate run its course, so to speak.
Makes perfect sense. I think it sounds very interesting, and I think people who are here from our chat might have know from this whether it's something they want to investigate. Given we come from a TTRPG space primarily as well. Does anyone else here have any questions?
So how does the blackjack mechanic work in the game?
Okay, so you have 4 attributes, one for each suit, and I will call up my cheat sheet for that to make things a little bit simpler because I have it all set up. Yeah, so you have 4 attributes, one for each suit, which is to avoid conflict, to confront conflict, to intuit what's going on, and to basically follow your instincts. And the last one is reason, for basically problem solving. And each one will have an attribute. Usually it starts off between 1 and 5. And this is how many cards you are allowed to draw at most to play blackjack. And then basically you lay out the cards, you stop where you want to stop, and then the game master will try to beat whatever score you got. The harder the task, the higher the penalty on how many cards you're allowed to draw. So like if you have a, let's say an intuit of 5, which is hearts, you could draw up to 5 cards, but the game master says, well, this is a difficulty 2. Well, then you're restricted to 3 cards, and the game master has to try to get higher than you got on 3 cards or less. And you have certain innate abilities which allow you to tweak this. Like if you are familiar with blackjack, you could do things like splits or doubles to try to increase your odds of success. And when you're fighting an oligarch, they have kind of a counter to this. So it's kind of a back and forth to see who can get the best hand.
Brilliant. Makes perfect sense. I'm going to move us back to this screen over here. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming and presenting your games. If anyone here in the chat or watching this video as a VOD is interested in seeing more TTRPGs, we have our previous stream where we covered Myths and Monsters, a Caribbean-themed, a more traditional TTRPG covering Caribbean-themed mythology.
I love that.
It's brilliant. It was very interesting. But very isekai themed to a lot of its mechanics. Definitely take a look. Plaguebound, which was another more traditional TTRPG in your simplified Dungeons and Dragons like lens with a more grimdark theme, and then our project Despair Dilemma, which is also a playing card deck based game, which is themed around death game, anime, and visual novels similar to Danganronpa, TV shows like Squid Game. Or Zero Escape, if you're aware of any of those. You can check them out in the previous stream or in future ones.
I had a question that came from my chat.
Yeah.
It was like, how much did you guys take inspiration from NetHack and Persona? So, yeah.
None.
None. Okay, then.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
None.
I got like 2 RPGs kind of on the back burner, and the running theme for all of these is if you're at the bottom of society and you are given the means to climb up, what methods would you use? This one, of course, like I said, is the blackjack themed. The other one that we have called Checkmate is going to be chess themed. And with that one, as you gather the chess pieces through like challenges and performing tasks that somebody called the Grandmaster is doing behind the scenes, you start becoming less and less human and more supernatural in nature. Like your strength goes higher than any human could ever hope for. Your
Are
speed
you
goes higher.
playing chess while you're doing it?
No,
Or...
thankfully not. That one is a dice game.
Look, that sounds so interesting, though. The idea of like, your classic grid-based tactical game, but everyone is playing as like 1 to 3 chess pieces.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, you wind up with actual physical chess pieces, which you kind of keep in your pocket. When you grab it, you can actually invoke a certain power with it. And eventually, once you have basically a half a set, there's something called the end game comes on. When the end game comes in, you start competing with other members who have chess pieces, and you try to get a full set, because once you get the full set, you're granted your wish.
Brilliant.
And then at the end of it, the question becomes, the stuff you had to do to get that far, was it worth it?
A little bit biased by what I've been having to, the research I've been doing for my projects reminds me a lot of Alice in Borderland.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, basically a similar premise, except they're collecting cards, and also doing more schlocky death game bullshit. This all aside, thank you all for coming with your board games. Very excited to see where a lot of these go. And I will note to everyone here on the stream, Pocketopia has a bunch of wonderful projects. This is only a small portion of them. And you should have a look. One of the cool things about Pocketopia is that if you back, everyone here is collaborators. You back both those collaborators, you're going to get bonuses. If you back a bunch of projects at the same time, you're going to get bonuses from BackerKit. They'll be sending you directly. I believe it is, we now know, it's a dice bag, correct?
Yeah. For 6 projects, I think.
I think it's
Nice.
5. You will have to check the front page if you are someone interested.
Yeah.
There will be links to everyone's teaser pages in the description of the VOD. When that goes up, you'll be able to find that on our Discord channel. I assume on some amount of y'all's Discord channels as well, y'all's YouTube channels as well. I meant to say our YouTube channel, but on y'all's YouTube channels as well. And I hope you all have a lovely day. I will be ending the stream in 2 secs.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Brilliant.
All right, that's it for today, everybody.